class, you've got the kids who pay attention, the kids who are on their phone, kids who are sleeping kids who aren't even there because they're skipping. My close friend fits all of these stereotypes. He tries his best, but now as a sophomore, he is more focused on working and making money. But he wasn't always driven to take this fast lane, planning on not going to college and instead focusing on making quick money. He might not know this, but I remember vividly when these ideas came about for him. One day in math class, a teacher uttered the following sentence at him: "You will never be successful." My friend was so hurt that he grabbed his books, stood up, and started leaving the classroom. But before he left, the last thing he replied was, "Then why bother?" How do schools work today, in my opinion? These institutions implement policies that inhibit the power of exploration and punish mistakes fiercely. For example, athletes' focus being directed towards the sufficiency of their grades to meet athletic eligibility requirements as implemented by schools. These policies place the priorities of a school, grades, over an athlete's exploration of sports. Students are taught to strive for good grades as the only measurement for what can be considered a complete education. Another common example one might find is rooted in a teacher's mindset regarding the concept of accomplishment, because they usually convey the following idea: if you put in the effort, you will be successful, as if the only and most desirable outcome for a pedagogical process can be reduced to a student's idea of what success is. Just do what the teacher says and assigns, and you'll get a good grade in the class. I think this dynamic discourages the potential interest in a class or subject because students are only focused on the outcomes they end up with. Furthermore, schools require a certain number of English, math, science, foreign language, and social studies classes, disregarding students' personal interests, and again centering the process of learning in the idea of success, grades, credits, and college. By doing this, they are teaching students not to explore beyond traditional academics into other areas such as entrepreneurship, trades like plumbing and gaming, mechanics, public speaking, or even community management. That is how the school system is built. Much of these issues have to do with the criteria that is used to judge and measure a school's performance, which is obviously test results. And we should acknowledge that we're currently quite in a predicament here because of the fact that curiosity and the will for trial and error are very difficult to measure. So instead, we are left with evaluation standards that stifle exploration and creativity. When analyzing the issue of success being misguided by schools, I concluded that there are three main consequences. The first is dropouts. As schools rapidly shift away from their main core values and stop serving its purpose. These values are the pursuit of meaning, a robust education, and the fruition of a virtuous socializing experience. Today, students are not finding these attributes in their schools. They don't see the point in spending productive time inside its buildings. So they thrift their attention away into greener pastures in which their passions and interests are taken into consideration. Second, the temptation for fast lane initiatives. As schools elevate a specific idea of success, at the same time, they also expect that we spend many years in high school and many more in college, simply guesstimating the conditions for eventual success. So what do students do? They realize that they can access that same notion of success by making some smart financial decisions, bypassing the traditional lanes that used to lead us to the same result. And if there is something that we don't need more of in present times, it's the fiction that important things in life can be achieved with small amounts of time, investments, and sacrifices. School's current superficial notion of success paves the way for this oversimplification of life's endeavors. The third consequence is a well-documented one, which is the unstoppable rise of anxiety and depression in adolescents in the past years. And despite the fact that this is a multivariable phenomenon, I'm sure that a result-driven, mistake-punishing, future-defining type institution like today's schools are for sure making their own contribution to this dire mental health pandemic. My conviction is that as schools replace the pressure of a misguided idea of success with the wonder of exploration, students will answer by replacing the anxiety for potential failure with the pleasure of audacity. We can do better things because better things are being done. In Norway, students only begin receiving grades once they enter lower secondary school. This is grades 8 through 10 in the American school system and ages 13 through 16. During that significant period of child development, kids are taught the value of education and the importance of grades, and not the importance of grades. They learn how to be successful in their own view. In Scandinavia, the results of a national test are only used for the business of the school officials. For a student, the test score does not matter because it will not affect their grade. Replacing the pressure of testing with the mindset of doing your best allows students to show their true potential. In Israel, the education curriculum doesn't focus on exams. Students in Israel only have one final exam instead of many tests throughout the year. This approach to education is more effective because the excitement of learning is not reduced by the fear of failure. A student is able to focus on actually understanding content rather than memorizing it for a test. The false dichotomy between failure and success ultimately restricts the student's real education. Failure is a fundamental ingredient in the process of success. Schools focusing on students' grades allows for success at the high school point in their life, but not in the long run. The combination of schools' unclear values and social media's portrayal of success leads to the consequences I previously stated. If you want the statistics, in the US, the percent of girls aged 15 to 19 admitted to a hospital after cutting themselves or otherwise self-harming has increased by 62% since 2009. In preteen girls, suicide has risen by 151%. Misguided interpretations of success stem from a school's limited definition of it. Schools need to adopt a curriculum that encourages students to explore their interests and discover what success means to them. A curriculum that is backed by positive teaching and realistic expectations. A curriculum that accepts mistakes and promotes learning from them. A curriculum that works to give students an experience in which they develop mental toughness. Schools should teach these skills so that when students encounter failure, they can use their education to pursue success by their own definition. Thank you.